everybody. Welcome. We're live. Hold on for a second. Okay. Sorry, everybody. Hey, everybody. How are you doing? Woo! We are live for Contractors and Business Summit. I am your host, Luciana Turner. I decided to stream this segment across all of my platforms. So, you know how we do over here. We don't grow alone. Share this across all the platforms. Share your friends. Invite your business bestie. Grab your contractor's notebook on sale soon. Your favorite beverage. I had to get my cup of coffee. That's why I was late. Government contractors are never late. I was late. Sorry. And I had to get a sip before I started. Oh my goodness. And I'm getting ready to introduce you to my new partner going into the year. We're just going to bypass all the introductions. You know who I am, and if you don't, you're going to find out. I'm going to introduce you to my new partner. We're talking proposal development. You know what? We're just talking right now. And LT&A Consulting Group is offering proposal compliance services going forward. I heard you. Stop yelling at me. I'm doing it. So I'm introducing you to my new power partner, Monica Morgan. How are you doing?
Hello, everyone. Hello.
So, as my mentor would say, throw some fire in the chat.
I
How are
love
you
it.
doing this afternoon?
It is a Friday, but we're here. Today some reminders, and we'll talk a little bit more about this and some of the even compliance. Because sometimes you just don't, your compliance doesn't mix, and you just have to make some shifts. And so we are here, and just being on the same mission when you're working on contracts and stuff with the team is so important. So I'm glad to be here, and I'm excited for what we're going to be doing in 2024.
You
Excited.
know what? I'm glad you said compliance. I am the compliance geek girl.
I love that. Compliance geek girl. We're going to have to get you something made. Compliance geek girl.
I'm compliance geek girl.
Yes.
You know what? For some reason, in my first section, my comments posted to Facebook and everywhere when I use my streaming service. And in my second and third segment, it didn't. So if you're not seeing my comments, I don't know what's going on. Technology works when it wants to, and when it doesn't want to work, it doesn't. Yes. I know it's posting to my YouTube channel. I'm not sure about LinkedIn. But yeah, that's the way it seems to be working. But that's okay. We're going to keep rocking.
Yes.
Because we know those of us who are operating in our CEO mindsets, we know about note-taking. And we know that the replays are posted within the Contractor Conversation Facebook group and on the LT&A Consulting Group's YouTube channel. So we know where to find our resources.
I'm writing right now. I've taken some notes already. Go ahead.
So, proposal development. And just before we fast forward, we know how we were raised. As you enter the room, say hello. How are you? Drop a comment in the chat. All resources from all our speakers for the summit will be posted on our YouTube channel and in the group. I have a group on LinkedIn. The LT&A Consulting Group has a company page on LinkedIn. The resources will be posted on that company page as well. So with that said, we will move forward into the proposal development conversation. And I think this is an appropriate point in the summit to bring this in. I opened the summit up with our speaker who were talking about business development. Mm-hmm. And she made the analogy of people wanting to put frosting on a plate instead of a cake. And I believe people want to talk about $1 million proposals without having a $1 million structure.
I love that. Love that.
$1 million proposals without proposal development. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, even before you get to the $1 million, let me say it like this. I did a lot of work with inmates in the prison, and I remember, they were like, "Well, I don't make 40,000, but they're 11 cents or whatever an hour." I said, "I need you to operate with that 11 or 15 cents like it was your $40,000. No, you're not there yet, but the goal is to help you build and become sustainable with your process, the grants and proposals you're going after, but you have to shift. It could mean you have to shift your team. It could mean you have to look at who's participating and helping do it. But sometimes it's very hard when we have a baby or have something we want to do. So we think, okay, I want this $1 million proposal, but I don't want to change anything. I just want to keep doing what I've been doing. Like you said, that plate with the icing, instead of you want to bake the cake, we want to get the cake built for you. But so many organizations and certain types of organizations struggle with that. So I think that's a big thing. Like you have to be realistic with where you are, but in order to get you to the cake, we have to make some shifts. And sometimes that means changing the team as well. So that's one thing. So I love that.
If you said change in the team, how about we build one?
Right.
And
yes. Yes.
And when I say build, there are times, I have a mentor and he talks about buying in. Mm-hmm. And there are times you have to get people to buy into your vision when you have nothing. Yes. And then there comes a time when you have to buy into your vision enough to invest.
Ooh. Right there. Yes.
And get where I'm going. You have
Love
to
that.
get people to buy into your vision. There are times, because I did it, I had people who believed in me enough until they supported my business and they said, don't worry about paying me.
Yes.
And then there was a time when I had to go into my pocket and invest because there's an addiction. And my market, my vision, I set the vision for this conversation, but I'm being unctioned to go a different way with this conversation. So I'm going to follow the unction. I can't remember if it was Forbes or not, but one of the business publications said the average entrepreneur who wishes to build or who wishes to grow their business must invest at least $85,000 in the initial scaling if they wish to get beyond the first 5 years.
Okay.
That's why a lot of 80% of the businesses fail. They don't want to do initial investment.
Yeah. Go ahead.
That is the buy-in.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that. And I think too, again, to build the business, to just, you have to sort of reconstruct it to construct it sometimes too, and take that cake apart. Okay, what ingredients do we need to build at this stage? So maybe up even first 1 through 5 years. Okay, those proposals, that process. But you're at a stage where,
You're at that stage where you have to begin to invest. You're at that stage where you invest where you're at. We all understand that if you're at ground zero, then you have $0 to invest. We understand that. But those with the CEO mindset understand that investing also needs time. Investing also involves summits such as these. That's no cost to low cost. Investing also translates into attending events. Investing takes shape in many different ways.
and I love how you said that, because sometimes too, we're also looking at someone else's business and trying to build it and structure it just like them. And that may not work for your business and how you structure it. Like you said, and it's beautiful to invest in yourself. Like if you don't invest in yourself in your business, why should anyone else? So that buy-in, like you said, as an investor yourself. And then the type of investor. Sometimes we have a tunnel vision about who the investor should be. It can only look like this, or it can only be this type of person. We sometimes have to expand our vision on who the investor might be also. You may be sitting next to the investor at a luncheon and you not know it. And you're just not prepared to even share your vision with that investor in a way that would want them to also buy in.
And we talked about this in the first session as well. Your return on investment is not always monetary.
Yes.
I
Oh.
shared the story of I invested money. It was almost $2,000 to attend the conference. It's 8 years now ago. And I attended a conference. From that conference, I went to bid on a contract.
Hmm.
And once again, following an unction, I reached out to someone I met at that conference 8 years ago. Now, she has a Fortune 500 company.
Hmm.
I didn't have the background I needed to bid on that contract. She did. I reached out to her. I didn't know if she was going to say yes or no. Because of that connection from a $2,000 event that I attended 8 years ago, she gave
Hmm.
me a yes. But I sowed that seed 8 years ago. Was it a monetary return? No. But it was an 8-year seed that I
Hmm.
planted 8 years ago. All returns, all seeds aren't monetary.
Hmm.
Sometimes they're connections.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's a door opening that you can't open, but you can ask them, can you open a door for me?
That's
Because
right.
not only did she say yes to that, she said, you can use my name.
Love it.
Her
Love
name
it.
can open doors, my name can't open. Hello.
That's so, and again, it's being open to different options, but at looking at that season of where the business is, what really, and also listening to the individuals who maybe have the expertise and are showing you this is going to help get the return on the investment, like you said, whether it's monetary, whether it's just the time, it's the name. And that's powerful when you think about a name, how powerful that name is. That can sometimes get you in the door, and sometimes we don't think we can ever connect with the person because we're maybe not at that level. But it might just be a lunch, or like you said, you went to that one event, and it's, again, you said you're listening to the unction. Sometimes you just have to take the step also. Like sometimes we want to stay behind our desk or stay here, and sometimes it's like, go to that one. Like just go, just take the step.
You have to. You will never grow if you're comfortable.
That's
I'm
true.
going to say that again.
Absolutely.
You will never
Absolutely.
grow if you're comfortable. If you are comfortable, you're not growing.
Hmm.
That's in
Absolutely.
anything. Contractors, and somebody's going to say, this is a government contracting firm. A government contractors are businesses, first of all. Hello. I don't know why. It tickles me because I'm talking to government contractors and it's like they forget their businesses. I'm like, um, yeah,
Yeah.
your business.
Hmm.
Um, if you don't get uncomfortable, you won't grow.
And that's sometimes when the most beautiful stuff happens, business or personal. Sometimes it's like, take a leap, try something new. It's just like it opens up doors that you wouldn't try or sometimes wouldn't come to you. It's like the law of reciprocation. I got to pour out to get something back. And sometimes, like you said, if I've continued to do it the same way and nothing's changing, I got to try maybe and pour out somewhere else. And then you can begin to see things move because the stagnation can kill people.
It's one of the main points that, and it's kind of, this is a summary before we get to the meat,
Hmm.
but it builds on the meat of the conversation.
Okay.
Showing up to show out.
Mm, okay.
Because, everybody says be in the room, be in the room, be in the room, but be present while in the room.
Yeah, that's good.
Are you present in the room?
Are you prepared to be in the room? Because you can ask for the room, the room, the room. And like you said, how are you going to be present? I love that when you get there.
And then I'm
I
going to
love
go.
it.
I was in a pre bid meeting, and people always like ask questions when you're in the room. Ask questions that make sense.
Yeah,
I was in a pre bid meeting,
I love that. But
and
let me stay there for 1 minute. Sometimes people don't know what to ask either. So again, that's part of this
I'm getting
process.
ready to
But go
walk.
ahead.
I'm getting ready
Okay.
to walk with me.
Okay.
I need everybody to walk with me
I love that.
because I'm getting ready to do a bit of decoding the RFP while we walk with this
I love
conversation.
it.
So if you can't drive, I need you to ride. Um, and for those of you who don't know what a pre-bid meeting is, sometimes when the government releases a request for information, a request for services, they will have something what they call a pre-bid meeting. That is where they will answer any questions that you have, or they will take questions that you may have on the request that's in the street. Usually they release the request in 15 days out, depending upon the size of the request,
Hmm.
how long it is between the release and the pre-bid meeting. The larger the request, the larger the amount of time
Hmm.
between release and pre-bid meeting. $1 million requests, typically 15 to 30 days between the
Hmm.
two, i.e., the Eagle RFP, which was a multi-million-dollar, multi-year endeavor. There was a 20-day period. Walk with me, keep going.
Hmm.
I was in a pre-bid meeting. The questions being asked by the intended bidders on the RFP
Hmm.
violated law,
Wow.
not even the rules, law, to the point. I have never sat in a meeting where the
Wow.
attorney for the government had to keep interjecting.
Wow. Wow.
So decoding the RFP, rule number one. Read the RFP.
Let's stay there for a minute.
Proposal development
Stay there.
rule one. Read the RFP.
The biggest reason people, and I have shared this before, I've taught GED, taken that exam. The biggest reason people don't typically get through that stage is they haven't read the directions. They're so excited about just getting the money that they're not reading. That's it.
And
That's
this
it.
may sound a bit tongue in cheek, and it may sound a bit obvious, but a lot of the questions were literally on page one.
Mm.
I mean, page one. You didn't have to flip the page. Page one, line one.
Mm.
Rule number two, there are certain things the government will never do.
True.
And the government will never review your proposal and tell you to change something and give it back to you for you to
Yeah,
hand it back in.
that's right.
I don't know where this thought process is coming from. I don't know who told you this. And if you are working with a government contracting consultant who is telling you that, fire them. Fire them immediately and tell them I said so. I will put my name online with that. Because this is the type of questions being asked in that
Mhm.
pre-bid meeting.
Wow.
The
Wow.
government will never, can we submit a proposal and you review it and then give it back to us before the deadline? I mean, they were being flooded.
And let me ask this question because, again, some people confuse government contracts versus tip RFPs and grants for other nonprofit foundations. So in this, I'm just like, I'm sitting here speechless. So I think some people too, and I'm not sure what that organization, but it sounds like they had experience with this before. But for those of you who might have gone from just RFPs and proposals to, let's say, some nonprofit or founders and things like that, but now you're switching over to you're going for the government contracts finally. Please hear this, hear it. Just like the KSAs when you're applying for a government position, that's not the same as when you apply for a position in the civilian sector, nonprofit sector. So, but keep going. Yes, that is wow, wow, wow,
Um,
wow.
the government can answer questions. Now, this is going to appear contradictory, so I need you to listen to what I'm saying and not hear what you want. Before a request hits the street,
Mhm.
the government can tell you what they're looking for. They can tell you their desires. They can tell you what they like. They can tell you what they don't like about the incumbent if it's a recompete. They can tell you what they're looking for if it's a new request. Once that RFP hits the street, they have to give every
The
contractor
same.
the same
It's the,
information.
mm-hmm. It's the playing field.
It has to be an equal playing field, and that
Mm-hmm.
is a law.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So be prepared. Any question you ask, the answer you receive will be released as an addendum for
Mm-hmm.
everybody else to have. So,
And I can we stay there for a moment again? If let's say you reapply for a contract, don't make the assumption that you can just also submit the same contract. If you submit or submitting the proposal or contract again and you have that pre-bid meeting, or as Luciana talked about, you get to ask those questions, come back and ask more questions. If you submitted, you didn't get awarded it before, come back to the drawing table and ask more questions. before, like you said, when that window. I've had situations where people were invited actually back. The funder actually gave them about 10 things and they would have won the proposal. They refused to show up for that meeting, and then they refused to implement the changes they did suggest. So,
Oh,
one, you show up.
you know what? I'm gonna talk about that, but I'm gonna talk about that in the compliance piece
Okay.
because there are things that government contractors do in the debrief.
Yes.
There's a debrief in contracting.
Yes.
Right now, we're talking about the pre-bid,
That's right.
but after the award, there are times the government will give you a debrief.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to say this. I'm not going to talk on this statement. I'm going to preface this. On the state level, um, all contracts don't have debriefs on the state level.
Mm-hmm.
On the county level, depending upon the state, certain companies, if you came like, if it was a point system, and if you came like
Mm-hmm.
within 1 or 2 points, they will invite you in for a debrief and tell you you
Mm-hmm.
missed it by 1 point because of this. But that's a part of the debrief.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I tell every company, go to the debriefings. I mean,
Yeah.
you, and that goes back to something that was said in session 2. Put your ego to the side.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Understand you can put in hours and it's a hurt feeling to not win,
Mm-hmm.
but put your ego to the side
Yeah. Yeah.
and attend the debrief. And I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
also tell you this: once that contract is awarded, it becomes a matter of public record.
Mm-hmm.
I'm back up off that comment. I'm gonna back up off that statement. I need to
Okay.
research that statement before I make it.
I want to keep. Well, I want to stay with the ego for a moment, but go ahead and finish.
I'm gonna go back to the ego.
Mm-hmm.
There are times in our hurt we can miss out on learning opportunities. And I'm going to switch from the pre bid in a moment. We can walk into a pre bid meeting doing one of two things. We can know it all and not listen for key information,
Mm-hmm.
or we can know it all and not watch for
That's good.
key partners.
That's good.
There are times when they're walking through an RFP during these pre-bid meetings. They
Mm-hmm.
may point out something
Mm-hmm.
and you have to listen for that. They're pointing out areas. And when the government points to something you may have thought was not important, and they keep
That's right.
highlighting it's important. The government is telling you what's important. And you have to learn to speak the unspoken
Yes.
because they can't say this is more important than the other part, but they can speak the important. You have to. We have this thing called code switching.
Mm.
You have to know when somebody is
Yeah.
telling you things without telling you things.
Yeah.
So you may have somebody hyper focusing on something and you're like, man, I wish they would get off that. Honey, you better pay attention.
Mhm.
Because if a
Mhm.
contracting officer is coming in, because the pre-bid meeting is usually an attorney, the contracting officer, program manager.
Yes.
You want to pay attention to who is the person who is going to be your day-to-day operations person.
Absolutely.
Now, the person who is actually going to be running the contract, you want to pay attention to what they are emphasizing
Mhm.
because it's their program. And in that pre-bid meeting, that is your opportunity to get in there and find out what do they find important. Now, I'm not telling you don't answer the mail. That's not what I'm telling you.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you what they're saying are the areas that you need to pay key attention to. And if
Mhm.
those are the areas you're weak at,
Yeah.
then you need to be scanning the room for a power partner.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And again, your team, pre-bid, middle, and your who is helping you execute the contract RFP is critical. You may have to adjust who is part of that process midway, depending on the proposal or the contract. Sometimes you have to make those shifts because sometimes I think we build these teams and we just say, oh, this team can do whatever. But you might not have the right person with the right skill set or the right vision, as Luciana is saying, to be able to see those things that aren't being said. You may have to look at who really can help us execute this in the way that meets the funders' need, request, and process. Because, yes, they, at the end of the day, make the decision. It's like a job interview. Like they're deciding who out of these candidates for this funding will get the job, meaning getting my money, my check, and getting the getting approved. So look at it almost as if it's a you're applying for a job with a funder, but it's a contract or RFP that you're going for, and so you prepare just like you would for that going in. Know your stuff, know who the players are, and definitely come prepared as they've asked you to based on the instructions.
Um, the CEO mindset. One of the things we talked about this morning was making decisions like a business owner versus a consumer.
Mm, mm, yeah.
And that translates into contracting as well.
Mhm.
Luciana, what does this have to do with proposal development? Walk with me. If you can't drive, ride. A lot of times, what happens as consumers, we keep buying the same thing, trying to figure out why isn't it working?
Yeah.
And it's not working because we should have bought a different product.
Mhm.
CEO mindset says, I bought this product and it's not functioning in an optimal manner. Let me analyze it and see if it's the product, the way I'm utilizing the product, or if I need a new product.
Yeah.
What does this have to do with proposal development? Keep walking. A lot of people like to say coaching doesn't work, consulting doesn't work.
Mhm.
Is it that the coaching and consulting didn't work or you didn't work it?
Yeah.
I need to sip my coffee. I'm
Yeah.
going to let that sit there and marinate for a second.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so important. And again, ego aside, throughout the whole process, this is something throughout the whole process that you have to keep asking yourself. Just have to keep asking yourself because again, if you don't, like you said, you're going to keep doing the same product and you're going to get the same results. And what do you say? What do you say? What is insanity?
Doing the same thing over and over again. And sometimes you need to do the same thing with a new mind.
Yes.
But you don't get the new mind until you do something different.
Different. Mhm.
So if you have previously attempted government contracting and it didn't work, and you decided government contracting wasn't for you, I say come into our ecosystem, learn from us, and then go back. Because it may not have been government contracting didn't work for you. It may
Mhm.
have been what I like to call a gap in the conversation.
Love that. Yeah.
Because I find that there are people having conversations in the government arena who, one, shouldn't be having them because they're not government contracting specialists.
Mhm.
I'm going to just put it out there. They're not specialists. They read a book or they heard a conversation.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
two, they're parroting what somebody else said and charging you for what they're repeating.
And I agree that it's not just government contracting. I want to keep painting that picture. A lot of people, when you, like you said, sometimes they don't even think what we do is like a job or a, a position. They just think, hey, we get a proposal, hey, we just skim through it, get it done. But these are the things that are part of the process for us as we're trying to help put funding development strategies in place, as we're trying to do the project management plan for the teams. But sometimes you they don't want to budge, and so it makes it hard to do the work when people don't want to budge. And like you said, we need to stop right now and figure out what it is that needs to be done different. So I love that you said that, and who you listen to through the process. Very important.
You know,
Vital.
and that was part of the conversation we had this morning. Be mindful of who you're taking advice from in every stage of development
Yeah.
and every season.
Hmm.
Because, the opening segment I shared this morning was actually a replay from when I ran the summit in July.
Hmm.
And but it's timeless information. And what I was sharing was a lot of the coaches that I was following at that time, I'm not following anymore. Not because they were bad coaches. They just don't fit now.
Hmm.
I'm
Hmm.
no longer in that stage of development. I'm in a new stage. So I need new
Hmm.
coaches. And what
Yeah.
happens is we get married or we develop partnership or we develop covenants or contracts or loyalties,
Hmm.
whatever term you want to use, to coaches, whoever. And we recognize it, but we're in denial to the fact we need to move on. I
Hmm.
have a marketing
Hmm.
coach right now, and she did Instagram Live talking about how she broke up with her branding coach. Now, that was the branding coach who got her from point A to point B, but that
Hmm.
wasn't a branding coach who was going to get her to the next level. And she
Hmm.
had to break up with the branding coach to get her from the one level to the next.
Hmm.
So, and she is highly successful. My another business coach I followed, she got the Fortune 500. Same coach I told you about that I met 7 years ago. She did a whole corporate transition. The coach that took her to Fortune 500 isn't the coach that's taking her from Fortune 500 to her next one.
Now. Hmm.
So once
Yeah.
again, who is in your ear that's
Hmm.
taking you from one dimension to the next dimension?
It's like that relay race when you're a runner. You got one leg, another leg, and it's okay. It's perfectly okay too.
And sometimes, and I'm just going to say it, sometimes we get a little too caught up in titles.
Yeah.
Now, there are
Yeah.
some people that will stay for you with you forever. That's cool. If they keep their certifications up and they keep their whatever up, that's good. They may stay with you forever. You know, I'm a compliance expert. I keep you will forever find me in a training, giving a training or doing a training.
Mhm.
I keep my compliance up to date because anybody who works with me, who follows my advice, key, you're gonna follow what I say. You're gonna do what I say do. And if you're not gonna do it, I'm gonna send a letter. So when you get in trouble, I'm gonna be able to point out that letter in the email and the certified.
I told you.
I'm gonna prove I told you not to do it.
Mhm.
Uh, because I don't want my clients to fall into the trap of not doing it. There
Yeah,
are people.
that's good.
It's like your tax accountant. When you're a newbie, you get a newbie tax accountant. But as you grow, there's some tax accountants that just going to give you bad advice when you get to be $1 million contract because they don't have $1 million minds. They don't have $1 million tax strategies. So you will need to change your tax accountant when you become $1 million company. I do taxes, but I don't do $1 million taxes. I can do a $1 million tax compliance review, but I will never do your $1 million tax return. I have a network that I can refer you to. You get what I'm talking about? I stay in my lane. And I believe that's part of but that's the CEO mindset. And that was weird. That was weird.
Hey, this is what comes with contracting. There's weird stuff that happens and you just roll with it.
You just
Again,
roll with
next
the
step.
so um but that's all a part of the proposal development process. And
Mhm.
somebody's going to say, but what did all of that have to do with proposal development? Check your notes. We read the proposal.
Yeah.
We understood that you need to be in the room and search out power partners. We know that the government doesn't review proposals before they actually close the RFP.
Mhm.
We're going to look for partners. We're going to build a team and look to see if that team needs to be changed.
Mhm.
And then
Absolutely.
we're going to work the training that we're given. And then we're going to understand that there are times that you're going to need to bring in experts such as ourselves to do that compliance review.
Yeah, and it definitely and sometimes people don't want to spend the money or they think, "Oh, it's a very important component of it because again, sometimes let's say you have a strong team and you have the right people in place to the process. Sometimes you need an extra set of eyes to be able to even make sure the fine minute things that sometimes we miss. So it's critical. And again, a lot of people, even if you don't have a compliance reviewer, a lot of people miss details because they just don't review it anyway. They get it done and then they just submit it and they don't take time. Again, not just reading it. What are they asking for at the beginning? But go back, like you tell your students if you teach, read it over one time, maybe read it another time, and then go back and answer. You have got to do that throughout the process because you're going to miss some things. And it's hard and it's easy to miss things when it's close to you also because you are passionate about what you want to submit or you're like, well, this is what we do. It may have to be said differently. Your data could be off. The formatting of it, just simple things like that too, that people I think sometimes don't think about can also help you stand out in the compliance piece of it.
I'm gonna also go here, and you know what, I meant to look up the term and I didn't. There's a medical term for when you read what you meant to write versus what you wrote. Sometimes when you review your own writing,
Mm.
you get blinded because you wrote it. So you
Yeah.
know what you meant.
Hmm.
So you're reading it, yeah, that makes sense. And that's not what you wrote, which is why you shouldn't review your own document.
Hmm.
The
True.
compliance review services that LT&A Consulting Services offers you will ensure that you don't miss the blind spots
Hmm.
that you can often get when we all get tunnel vision. I don't review my own proposals.
Yeah.
Now, LT&A Government Solutions does not review its own proposals. Hello. So why are you?
Hmm.
I mean,
Hmm.
the CEO mindset.
Yes. Yes.
Um, so just that second set of eyes. And if you don't have a proposal process, you may want to book a call. Yes, you need you need a process.
Please. Please. And then I think the thing too, about what you've done and what you've built is you care about the not just the proposal. It's again, is there something that your team even needs that you're missing, and really paying attention to all of the pieces that are going to help the individuals have the best quality product. Again, the sustainability at the end of the day. But I love about what you do more than anything. Like I said, it's not just proposal, get it written, but you really do care about the teams and want to make sure they're equipped long when LT&A is gone. The quality and the sustainability through that, through every part of the proposal, but especially the compliance. You know, I think that's one of the things that you do very well,
It's
or
I
you
feel
strive to.
I feel that my clients are a family. I even call my mailing list the LT&A family.
Mhm.
And I talk to my family the way I would want to be talked to.
It's important.
Some people don't like that. That's fine. Just
Mhm.
like the original recording for this segment will get posted within the Contractors Conversation Facebook group. Um, because honesty
Yeah.
between consultant and client must be there.
Yeah.
And honesty goes hand in hand with respect.
Yes. Yes.
So
Mhm.
I want to thank you, Monica, for being able to
You're
jump.
welcome. Welcome.
At 2 o'clock, the next segment is a leadership segment, which will stream exclusively to the Facebook group and the YouTube channel. And in that segment, we're talking about leadership versus being a bully and calling it
Mm.
leadership. And that was a powerful conversation. And the person I'm having that conversation with, she is a powerful leadership coach. I'm proud to call her friend. She is a leadership expert. She needs to be your leadership coach. She does leadership courses, and she's also a contracting officer for the Veterans Administration. So she's talking to you from a perspective of what she sees as a contracting officer. And when I first engaged with her, we was with my first summit, being a power partner in government contracting. And that was a hoot. When she talked about their contractors, they were like, "Ooh, when is this contract up? Can we break the contract?" Which is where that segment came from. Where there's some people that come to the table, they call themselves leading and power, and what they are just big bullies.
Yeah. It's
So
honest.
um, I'll see you guys at 2 o'clock in the group when we run that interview with Miss Shalonda Clark. So thank you, Monica, and I'm looking forward to our partnership in 2024. And this
Yes.
entire summit is sponsored by the LT&A Consulting Group, a government contracting and compliance firm. Book a call with us. Check us out, and I'll see you at 2 o'clock. Have an